Hello and welcome back to Chapter 3 in the 327 Federal Magnum series. Today we're going to be talking about ammunition availability and why you should probably start reloading if you're interested in the 327 caliber. Now, right now we're going through a little bit of a dry spell with factory 327 ammo. 327 is a niche caliber and Federal doesn't devote a whole lot of production time to producing that caliber. So they produce it in production lots every 9 to 10 months or so. And right now we're running close to the end of that, and so factory ammo has just about dried up for right now. But it will be back soon. But in the time being, if you want to go and shoot your 327 and you don't have any ammunition stored up, it's not that big of a deal because there are a lot of other calibers that you can shoot in the 327. So in a 357, you have 38 special that you can shoot as a practice round. Well, in 327, you have a lot of other choices. And I'm going to go over those choices right now. So here we have a 32 Smith & Wesson short. Now, if you bought a $5 revolver at a yard sale in 32 caliber, it probably fires this cartridge. Came out in the turn of the century. It's a black powder cartridge, but this is loaded with smokeless. And we have a 90 grain bullet doing about 600 feet per second, about the same power as .22 long rifle. Now, 32 Smith & Wesson short ammo isn't exactly common, but it is out there, and it is around that you can shoot in the 327 revolver. Now, second ammunition is a very common one, 32 ACP. You may not know it, but 32 ACP is actually a semi-rimmed case, and that little rim on it holds on just fine in the cylinder of your revolver, and it will fire perfectly fine. Recoil is exceptionally mild, and you're going to find 32 auto at just about any gun store. The third ammunition type is 32 Smith & Wesson long. Another very common 32 caliber cartridge, and probably the most common 32 caliber cartridge actually. And you can find this in a bunch of different varieties, from wad cutters to round nose to semi-wad cutters. Exceptionally common ammunition in stores and online. Yet another cartridge that you can fire in the 327 is the 32 H&R Magnum. Now, this one came out in the early 80s, I believe, as an improvement over the 32 Smith & Wesson long. And there are quite a few excellent defensive loads available in this caliber from Black Hills and Georgia Arms. But these are just some of my reloads that you're seeing right now. And finally, we have two different offerings for 327 reloads. Now, on the left, those are my cast 90 grain 327 reloads. Those are doing about 1,200 feet per second out of a 3-inch barrel. And over there, those are my 85 grain XTP loads that you saw in Chapter 2. Now, you may not have the capability to reload yourself, but luckily there are a lot of boutique ammunition manufacturers online that do reload 327 ammo, and it's not that much more expensive than regular American Eagle factory loads. They average between 60 and 70 cents a round. You may have noticed that most of the loads that I showed you here today all have the same 90 grain truncated cone semi-wad cutter, and that's because these are all my reloads. I put all these together today to show you just how versatile this cartridge can be. And this gets us into our second point and why you should probably start reloading if you're interested in the 327. Since it is a niche caliber and there are somewhat annoying ammunition shortages from time to time, the best way to have your own stock of ammo that's readily available is to make it yourself. Now, Starline does make 327 cases. They are very inexpensive, about 25 cents a piece, and you can easily get 10 or 15 reloads out of them. Now, if you don't need full-bore 327 power and you're just shooting paper or just plinking at cans, you can easily move down into a 32 H&R, 32 Smith & Wesson, or 32 Smith & Wesson short if you really just want to download your power and save on component cost. I can reload 32 Smith & Wesson short for less than the cost of bulk box 22 long rifle. This only costs 3.5 cents per round to load for. 32 Smith & Wesson long costs about 4 cents to load for. The same with 32 H&R Magnum, about 4 cents per round to load for that. Even when you're loading full bore 327 with cast bullets, it's about 5 cents a round. Now, that's exceptionally cheap, but it's also because I get free lead. Now, that's a topic for another video, where to get free lead. Now, if you don't cast your own bullets and you have to buy these bullets pre-cast, the most you're going to spend on them is about 8 to 10 cents a piece. So still, you're looking at 13 cents a round to reload any of these 4 different calibers at 4 different power levels. Hand loading your own ammunition is where you're really going to see the versatility of the 327 cartridge. You can load rounds that are for plinking or small game hunting that are the same power as 22 long rifle, or you can load your ammunition all the way as hot as full bore 357 Magnum. It's really one of the most versatile revolver cartridges out there, and there's a load in here for just about everybody. Myself, I'm really fond of the 32 H&R Magnum. It shoots like a 22 out of my steel guns. These little 32 Smith & Wesson shorts over here, I think these are just the cutest little things ever. The overall length is the same size as 22 long rifle, and they have less than the recoil of 22 long rifle. They're pretty neat little cartridges, and to make these, all you do is trim down 32 Smith & Wesson long brass. The second reason why you should probably start reloading, if you don't already, is that these 32 caliber cartridges are exceptionally easy to load for. The components are widely available. They use standard small pistol primers, which are everywhere, and they use the very smallest amount of smokeless powder. So 1 pound of powder will last you many thousands of cartridges. You also don't have to get a very expensive press to get started reloading. The cheapest Lee press that's $50 will suffice just fine for these little pistol loads. You don't need all the leverage of an expensive Hornady or Dillon RCBS. You also only need 1 die set to reload all of these different calibers. Everything from 32 Smith & Wesson short all the way through the 327 Magnum can all be loaded with just 1 set of dies, and these dies are only about $40. The other nice thing is that there's lots of loading data available. This is the Hornady 10th edition manual, and you can see it has a big listing for 327 Magnum and 85 and 100 grain loads. You can see some of the notes I've taken there. Another great source is off of the Hodgdon Powder Manufacturing website. They have listings for quite a few different bullet weights, as well as over 20 different powders that you can use in the 327 Magnum. Just think, if you loaded 200 rounds of 32 H&R Magnum at 4 cents a round, that's enough savings over buying factory ammunition to pay for your entire reloading setup in just 200 rounds. That's something you really can't do with almost any other cartridge. Since the 32 caliber cartridges are typically fairly expensive for factory offerings, there's a huge amount of savings to be made when you start reloading. Now, once you get a bunch of practice under your belt and you feel comfortable making your own defensive ammunition, these Hornady XTP 85 grain loads can be reloaded for about 20 to 23 cents a round, depending on where you get your components. That's a huge saving over buying Federal Hydroshocks at over $1 a round. It means you're going to pay off your reloading setup after you load, maybe 200 rounds or so. And to top it off, you get to practice with your carry load. You don't have to spend a fortune practicing with Federal Hydroshocks when you can just practice with your everyday reloads. This video was just a little bit of a teaser on reloading the 327, but I thank you for watching Chapter 3. In Chapter 4, we're going to dive right into reloading for the 327, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is. We're going to make 50 rounds of these 85 grain XTP hand loads, and I'm just going to show you how easy it is for anybody. This is the perfect cartridge for a beginner reloader, and you're going to save so much money. It's going to be so worth the time and effort to make your own ammunition for this caliber. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I hope to see you in Chapter 4.